the days on social media, I mean, haven't been real nice. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world that have real problems, so I shouldn't act like it's that much of a drama, but it does get frustrating. Um, it's a silly game, frankly, to have to play against these algorithms. The internet used to be a tool for communication, and then now it's more of a tool of censorship, marketing. Um, I I know that maybe what I'm making isn't, you know, a great laser light show of excitement, but I'm certainly not the worst out there either. And I would like a fair shake. It's one thing to have people go, well, you know what? Guy's not really that exciting. I'm not really interested. Fine. But at least give me the shot. Before algorithms, I could put out something on a website or whatever and at least have a relatively even opportunity to present what I'm making to people for their evaluation, as opposed to these damn machines making a decision for everybody. So, and it, like I said, I mean, if it was just me, you know, trying to communicate for the hell of it, that'd be one thing. Still be frustrating to a degree, but I'm also, had all these advisors and stuff tell me, well, if you want to do a business, you got to, social media is the place to be, and it's just a big bunch of crap. So, um, and I don't know. It seems unseemly. It may even seem childish um, to be a. I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but I don't think it's fair to see somebody. Again, you don't have the fair shake. So you have somebody who's joined 6 months ago, rocket past you uh, in viewership and reach. It just doesn't seem fair. So, but whatever. Beyond that, there's and there's that one person that joins YouTube for like 2 seconds and leaves. That's also very frustrating. But beyond that, every time seemingly. So I did get a a note from Rob Kuntz in encouragement. Uh, Said, "Hey, soldier on." Told us a little anecdote about him being the one guy playing the game when everybody else had blown it off in playtesting back in D&D, and that was very, very kind to take the time to do that. Give me a little insight into the backstory there. So really appreciate that. So you know, kind of recharge the batteries. So I wanted to just make sure that I put that out so everybody could see how cool that was. He's super neat and very uh, open to exchange with fans and people like that. So very inspirational. Griff of ArnieCon of Secrets of Blackmore put out an inquest. He was wondering if anybody knew where a quote from Gary was, or what it specifically said. Something to the effect that, um, how did he paraphrase it? He said, if players find out they don't need rules, we're ruined. I'm assuming it came from the TSR days. Uh, and it was, if the comment was real, Griff, I mean, here's a fellow that's spent a lot of time researching this stuff and speaking to people. So I suppose that he says he's heard it before, but couldn't locate the citation for it. So I guess if might be a little insulting because, but that definitely sounds like something from the TSR days. And before I got off chasing squirrels, trying to got off chasing squirrels, trying to get reach and something like that. I was trying to talk about the idea of well, ruleless games, free Kriegspiel, uh, the fact that RPGs and war games really aren't any different. I just saw somebody else make the comment too. There really is no conceptual difference. It's so um, so it'd be interesting to see him being Gary bring up that you don't really need rules per se for these things. But uh, as somebody, I was looking at some conversation on RPG.net or something like that in a forum. Somebody says, well, if you go down that route, you have less material to sell to a customer if you're a company, which is a good point. So I have made a myriad of rules for war games and things like that. And okay. I'm reading comments and I'm not really sure what they're in reference to. So the biggest issue I have is dealing with shouldn't be that hard, but I still haven't gotten the rhythm of dealing with people and their disparity, the lag as it is. It's I used to spend a lot of time on chats, and they seemed relatively real time, like IRC and stuff like that. But it's understandable that in this situation, there's a delay for a myriad of reasons, and sometimes it's longer than others. So somebody says something, and it's in relation to something you said 30 seconds ago or longer, and it seems out of context because you're reading it. But now I get it. Right. Yeah. I mean, if you say, hey, we don't need rules. So at that point, if you, I think FKRs, some people like to use the term free Kriegspiel role playing, is a very interesting concept, and I like it. But if you're looking to monetize and you don't want to make rules material, what are you monetizing? A lot of people. So now that I understand what you were saying about running over and hitting like on the other channels, I appreciate the likes. Thank you. It was taking me a minute to put that together, but I got it. Yeah. So a lot of people have a huge aversion to the idea of DM charging for DM services. But if you're not going to sell the game, maybe selling the experience. I mean, think of it. In the past, at least in my experience, nobody wanted to be DM. No one wanted to judge because they wanted to play. We all gather up, me and my buddies. Nobody wants to be the odd man out. We didn't have an umpire when we played ball in the lot either because everybody wanted to play a position, throw the ball around. So, though we understood the merits and the advantages of having somebody be a judge, we went to the friendly neighborhood game store and asked if they would do something like that as a service, and they said, "Get bent. We got a business to run. We can't do that." But then people like Games Workshop had the old Outrider. I think that's what they called it, Outrider, where they would send a person in. And once you had somebody that was running the game for you, it went faster, it went smoother, you didn't have to learn as much. And if you did it with wargaming, like real wargaming, you could potentially have Fog of War, which was just the next dimension. If playing Panzer Blitz or whatever the modern equivalent of is boring, because you can see everything, there's no ambush, try playing that same thing where you can't see anything but what your troops can see on the table. A completely different experience. So maybe charging for the experience. I don't know. But in a realm where I hear more and more often about how complex rules are, you know, stuff like that. It just seems like maybe circumventing them in totality is really the way to go. But um, some people have proposed it in the sense that this is too niche to be niche, or to be monetized, I should say. That you'll have the corporate monetized stuff, put out by WotC or whatever, and then the people who want to play something different, just the idea of it being a market just won't be there. What it'll just be as a hobby, where people just make up their own material and distribute it as wanted without any interest in being compensated for it, because there's just not enough of it, not enough people around to make it. The investment that you need versus the profit that you get is pretty minimal. I mean, I see guys that do backer kits, and what was one guy? It was like 15,000 or 20,000, and what he ends up making out of that was like 3. It cost him 20 grand to make 3. And that's a hustle that's not worth it. So maybe it'll just kind of go. I don't know. It probably won't, because most people will go, hell with that. I'm going to, I don't care about this ruleless stuff. I'll play a regular thing. So, but it was just interesting to see Gary do that, because the premise of Freaks Creek Spiel is just making rulings, not rules. So, then the next part of this that really interested me was there was a fella, or I should say that fella, I don't know if it was a chick or it was some account that made the comment that I'm sure that Gary didn't say that because you can't make statistical models that represent weapons. He says, I'm a game maker. I've tried that. It's impossible. You can't even get AI to do that. And having been in that line of work in years past, I was taken aback by that comment. And so I said, because you're missing a whole lot. They've been around for a long, long time. Lancaster's model is not really a weapon system model per se, but there's a lot of those. So, and if I was going to do FKR with modern combat, those are the kind of models that I would use. I wouldn't make the, sorry, my back, I got to move sometimes. I wouldn't make the players learn that stuff, but that's what I would use as a guideline to make the rulings, and to generate some probabilities so that the players could roll some dice, because a lot of people, their first aversion to FKR is the prospect that it may not allow them to roll dice to control their destiny. So you gotta have some you gotta let them roll them bones, or they don't want to play, and I don't blame them. So I would use that kind of stuff, but as boring as it may sound to discuss, because it's fairly mathematically intensive, I know this much: Gary and Dave and all that, they may not have studied that stuff themselves, but they did deal with wargaming, learning from people like Tony Bath. And people like Tony Bath absolutely did do that sort of stuff. Featherstone, too, is another one. If these names don't mean anything to you, they're prominent wargame authors from the 60s and 70s. And chainmail, at least the history of it that I've read, birthed out of something from Tony Bath and then moved through a couple other people. But statistical models for weaponry are nothing new. There was the Napoleonic nations tested their musket fire and took notes about it. There's a guy named George Nospiger, and he wrote lots of books about that. He was an avid Napoleonic war gamer and just Napoleonic historian. And he's got all the statistics, especially the Prussians. They were really into that. And that's where Kriegspiel comes from originally, the Prussians. Krauts, they're really, that's the way they are. And it's not difficult to do. Some of them become much more complex than others, but all modeling of war simulations for the Defense Department and for other militaries come starting with some sort of statistical model. You could do that with bows and arrows and swords and all that stuff. He said you couldn't get weapon speed. Weapon speed is very easy. You don't need. So I was kind of taken back by the fact that he wasn't into that, but or thought it was impossible. How do you get weapon speed for a sword? Find one. Obviously, they're hard to get these days, and they weren't easy to get in 1975 either. But you can get something reasonably accurately weighted and sized, and you can find somebody that isn't, out of shape, and have them wield it. It's not, people might say, "Oh, that's dangerous." Well, maybe, but there's a lot of ways, in the most crudest sense, to do that sort of stuff. So, and we would use that sort of thing to come up with what I used to come up with my war game stuff. What I used to come up with my RPG stuff. So when you start talking about this, the first thing that people do is they go, "Well, that sounds like it's boring. That sounds complicated. I don't want to learn that." Well, you don't have to. What it is the designer comes up with these models, and the answers that are the output of the model, that's what's put into the game. And that just ends up being what kind of score you need on a die roll to be successful in a particular situation. Probability, it's all ends up being at the end of the day. So, but they exist in myriad all around the world. There's all sorts of examples of that. So that kind of flabbergasted me. I wonder how many people have that attitude. And maybe that's where some of this everything's complicated thing comes from with wargaming and combat rules and stuff like that. So this was kind of an interesting thing. I thought about doing tutorials about that sort of stuff, but it turned out that I don't think many people are all that into it. So, but that's about all there was with that. But so then there's the Greyhawk thing. The thing that got me all teed off more than anything was not just the way people conduct themselves. Well, yeah, right. That's it. People's attention spans have sunk, but so talking about this sort of stuff bores the hell out of them. They don't want to do it, but it's always that it doesn't. It's not something you need to learn. It's just how the sausage is made. A lot of people don't care how the sausage is made. The output from these things, as complicated as they may well be, is just here's what you need to hit on this, size dice, whatever. So it just ends up being probabilities. Probability to hit, probability to kill, whatever it is, something like that. So, but they certainly do exist in professional simulations, professional combat models, and war games too. But yeah, the whole thing is about, and that's why I thought, as far as attention span, because I think that's a major contributor to people always invoking the word complexity in relation to rules, especially combat rules. Let's just go free Kriegspiel. But as we've already discussed, how do you monetize that if you can't make material? Maybe, just spitballing, maybe if this is, I don't know if this will ever get adopted. I don't, you know, this is just me thinking out loud more than anything. But I would think that if this became largely adopted, maybe other material would be monetized in its stead, instead of making rules, books, and companions, stuff like that. The shift would be a more of a focus on worlds, NPCs, splat book type of things, maps, and that sort of deal. But just an idea. But I like to do it, and my thoughts is to do it with a GM for hire type of situation, where you come in as a player, and there's a real experience. It's not just, hey, I'm charging you to come to Discord and be my player in a thing. It's no. It's more than that. It's a deeper, more immersive situation. I see people doing this on Start Playing, where they'll run a campaign and they'll charge folks for it. And of course, a lot of people, especially older people, get real indignant. Well, why would I ever pay for that? But what they're paying for isn't just the DM. The DM's got all these tools, and they've got soundboards and visual effects and videos and all this stuff. So when you log in, you're logging into this kind of multimedia virtual table. And all that preparation and overhead is what people are paying for. And some people are doing it. It's not, people that are in the OSR, they kind of get all grouchy about it. A lot of them get grouchy just about VTTs in general. But elsewhere, there's people doing that sort of thing. And it's not RPG, but wargaming. Like I said earlier, the fog of war thing is kind of a coveted effect that's very difficult to achieve without a judge. And so what you're paying for is a much richer, much more interesting, and much more immersive experience than the normal deal. So let's just go through. I guess I wish I could be more exciting. I don't live alone. And that requires, and it's late at night, so it requires that I maintain a level of subdued decorum when I speak into the mic. And that may come off as being boring to people. The choice of subject may be boring, but in my mind, talking about dice fudging and how to make a dungeon for the 80th time, that's a little boring too. So I just kind of like to find some new stuff. But like people say, the attention span is low, and when you start talking about math, people start glazing over real fast. And I wasn't really talking about hardcore math. All I was saying is that these mathematical models do exist, whereas the contention made by somebody at one of these conversations was that they don't, or they're impossible to achieve, which isn't true. So, anywho, I was going to talk about the Greyhawk thing, but everybody left. But the individual whose screen name is You're Wrong I appreciate the bumping my stuff up. Thank you. I wasn't sure what that was at first, but yeah, thanks a lot. I think they've left. I probably bored them out of it, but I got the link, so thanks. Um, but I was looking for the actual statement. Bear with me. I should have had it up, but I didn't know where I was going to go with this thing. I don't think there's anybody here to be bored anyway. All right, here, I can find it this way. Here it is. Wow. You know, and the censorship. Okay, here we go. Okay, I don't think that he said that, he being Gary, as it's not true. If you had to create tables that are based on actual statistics of weapon speeds, weapon range, and functional accuracy, you couldn't even get an AI to pull that out of its rear. Believe me, I know. I've built some game systems, but that's just factually not true. Um, so, but when you read the rest of it, it boils down to it's all boring. See, people say it plays slow, and some of them did, but what it ends up being is like the other individual said, it's just it's boredom and disinterest. It's not difficult per se. So, yeah. So, um, probable spam. I'm looking at the screen. I think that's the individual that was helping me. He's following me on Twitter. Probable spam. Thank you again. So, um, I guess that about does it. I mean, how long do you sit here and try to uh, kill time when no one's really there? I see somebody on Twitch, but I often see somebody on Twitch, and I don't know if they're real or a bot or what. So if you're on Twitch and you're real, feel free to speak up. But I don't think it is. I think it's a quirk. Maybe they just give you one to grow on. I sure wish they. Oh, maybe they do. Oh, it is. Okay, there you are. I see you. All right, so you're there on Twitch. Okay, so appreciate it. It took me that long to figure out that you can find out who's connected to you on Twitch. Sorry, I'm still learning this shit. But yeah, so it all ends up being the same thing. Well, it's too difficult. It makes the game bog down. But there's ways to get around that. You know, realism does not equate to an unplayable game. It's just a matter of the approach you take to achieve that realism and what you're looking for. It doesn't, and in my mind, I started playing in the 70s, and we had games like Tractics. And if you hand Tractics to somebody now, they'll make it sound like it's a NASA rocket science game. And when we were playing that, we were a lot younger than we are now. And we hadn't gone through, and I'm not trying to tell anybody they're stupid. I'm just saying this. We hadn't gone through as much school. And yet we could play that and have fun doing it. And would it take all afternoon? Yeah. But But here's the thing: so do new games. If you we got so into this, we being me and a friend of mine, because at one point we wanted to put out rules, and I kept telling this dude, because he was into wargaming, but he never went to a convention or anything like that. It was kind of like this weird thing he did, and everybody that he knew thought he was weird for doing it. So he was real happy to meet somebody that had a similar interest. So we talked about making these rules, and we got, I forget what they call these damn things, but it was basically a stopwatch or chronometer or something. And what we did is it was the kind of thing you put next to a chessboard. There's a fancy word for it. My brain can't think of it right now. But anyway, so we would take a turn and we'd slap the button, and that would tell us how long the turn took. And we kept fussing with those rules until the turn, we were shooting for under 2 minutes or whatever it was, something like that. But we didn't really sacrifice realism for it. We just employed it in such a way that it didn't take procedural, this whole, well, first roll for this, then check for that, blah, blah, blah. There's other ways to do it. One of the great ways to see what I'm talking about, instead of having to muddle through my Joe Biden type of speech, because I know I'm not always the most articulate dude, especially at this time at night. But if you go to the Fort Benning Army website, of all places, or search Armor Magazine and look for the back issues, February 1993, January, February issue 1993. Pretty sure that's the date. I can visualize the picture. It's well, hell, let's just go there and find it. Here, let me put on the screen thing. So hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to switch to screen share. It's supposed to pick up audio. Holler at me if you can't hear. Hopefully, I swear you could search tic-tac-toe and potentially get porn on the internet, so hopefully nothing like that happens, because I'm just, okay, here we are. Pretty sure it was 93, my memories, but let's just see. Here we go. Yep, here it is. Okay. So, where is, let's get there faster. We can talk about, well, let's not get into a huge lecture, but feel free to check out page 6 and tank gun accuracy too, because that'll tell you a little more about statistics and models. Okay, 45. I know I'm not going to turn right to it because the way. Here we go. Small unit terrain board exercises. All right. Doozaboo. I always liked saying that name. Anyway, look at I know they're black and white and they're small, but they're war games, Jack. We played war games. So reading through this, it explains how platoon leaders and company commanders and staff can train their people using, quote, terrain boards, which is, they're absolutely the miniature. This is about using micro armor and micro armor miniatures to run train exercises for soldiers. We did this kind of stuff in the Army when I was in. And just like everybody else, and it kind of irks me, but just like everybody else, Doozaboo will go into the standard playability versus realism, blah, 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 and all that shit. And I can tell this guy obviously came out of the hobby, but anyway, he shows some ways to speed up. Now, granted, this is 1993, and there's a lot of people who will say, well, war game rules are like technology, and they become better with, the calendar date. I disagree. I could find citations. Some of the things that seem like modern, innovative rules mechanics, they're just from books decades old. But because nobody knew that they existed in those books decades ago, because they didn't know those books existed, when somebody else brings them out, they go, "Oh, this person's such an innovator." No, they're just taking tools from an older toolbox. But one of the things he does is shows how to break down the 2-step or 3-step procedure that a lot of those war games, miniature war games, would use for 2-hit. And yes, it requires math, but here's the thing. If you do it once, then you don't have to do it every time at the table. It's a setup. You know, you set it up by breaking it down, making it easier. And, you know, this is an example of it. And then you'll never have to do it again. Now, if you're not into chucking dice around and you don't have any, he shows you how to generate probabilities off of a computer, which is semi-random and all that. But it's a very interesting article, and you can see that you know, that you can simplify what seems like complex rules and still have a relatively realistic situation. I also always find it interesting to show people when I can find it at the right page. Darn it. Where did that go? Anyway, somewhere in here, it's been a long time since I looked at this, but he had a list of games. Here they are. Okay. Just thought it was interesting because my personal favorite was Close and Destroy. I like percentile. It's just easy. You don't have to do a lot of math. I know a lot of people with the whole, you know, it's not a bell curve distribution. Oh, I know, but still, it runs real fast. Combined Arms, I have. Loved it, but didn't agree with a lot of things Chadwick put into it and changed it quite a bit for my own personal stuff. Dunkempf is actually an army-made system that basically is the old war game Challenger 2 with some modifications to statistics. And I love that he put Total Conflict in here. I knew Gary Bloom. I played a lot of games with Gary Bloom. I lived in the area. I know ZMN Publishing. I've met Zimmerman and Myers, those people. In fact, they're the ones that really started me in wargaming. And it was really cool that they had these in here. I have a copy of that Total Conflict myself. And his next set was, I believe, better in a lot of ways and was called Armored Conflict, but he had several of them. But I agree, they were a little bit almost too simplified. Armored Attack was the next one, and it got the balance right. But he was Total Conflict. They have them at Noble Knight or something like that has them. But back in the day, it was totally a local thing. I'd never seen anybody have a copy of that outside of, you know, the Milwaukee suburbs. So Gary was a 30-year veteran and a police officer. He was a neat dude, and he kind of mentored a lot of things for me. So that was fun. But anyway, that's just just an interesting way. Basically, what they're doing is just rearranging the math of the probabilities of the different outcomes that you had for the game, such that it took one roll instead of 3. Pretty easy stuff. So, anyway, anything else? I just kind of like to hang out. I like to conversate with people. Anybody got anything to say? So, had 3 people on Twitch for a while. That's interesting. Someday I'll actually play. I do play some games on Twitch. I don't know that anybody's ever watched me do it, but I do stream. I stream to Kick a lot sometimes too. So, anywho, like I said, I was going to talk about the Greyhawk game, but I think I'll do that if there's actually people in the room. That would be nice. But is there somebody still there? Wanted to play Greyhawk, the ODD Greyhawk. Is what I was looking to play, and I kind of got flustered about it because I had a lot of people say they wanted to play, and they never show up to play. Like, they didn't even show up for like the pre-game meeting to set up the game. And I was like, why did I mean, how is that? There's 18 people who tell me, yeah, I want to play. Okay, come and play, and then they just don't show up. It wasn't like this was 5 minutes after I told them. This was 2 days and they still didn't show up. So anyway, but that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do not a real big Brosser Braunstein type of thing, but a sandbox game. I had a special map from Greyhawk, or have it. I don't really have the actual map. What I have is somebody took a picture of it in a high-resolution RAW format and then put it on the internet so that you could download it. It was a picture of one of the playtest maps for Greyhawk from the 70s, early 70s. So I wanted to play on that map and use ODD and just let people wander through Greyhawk adventuring. I thought it'd be a neat way to kind of celebrate the 50th anniversary and stuff like that. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I was very excited when I expected to have a few people saying, yeah, maybe. But I had 20 people that said yes, and I go, damn, that's like 2 groups. What happened there? It was odd. I had a camera glitch. Short. Sorry, why? What the hell was that? Anyway, but yeah, I wonder how many times that's happened. Never seen that before. But yeah, I want to do that. I've got Star Wars. I play the hell out of Star Wars. So if I can get people to play. Anyway. I got 30 people on Twitch. I had no idea. No idea I had that many people on Twitch. I never use it. How do I have it? Well, maybe I should start finding a way. Let's see if any. Well, it's pretty late at night, so I don't know if there'll be anybody around. Trying to think of anything else. I play on Monday. I do a show, and I have a co-host, but she's kind of a flake. Sometimes she blows it off. I really need somebody that's a little bit more responsible. But if she shows up, we're going to play one of my rule sets. It's a fantasy war game rule set, and we'll be broadcasting that. And people can come and watch. They can see the demo of the game, or even better, if they so desire, they can be players in that game. and see how what I'm doing. What I want is to make is something that was less confusing than chainmail. And it's weird, chainmail is you buy the chainmail book, but that's not all the chainmail. Some of it's in another book, and some of uh, the add-on parts are in magazines that are almost impossible to find and all that sort of stuff. So uh, I wanted to do something that kind of was similar to chainmail, but was cheap, easy, and had everything all in one spot. And that's what we're going to do on Monday. Again, hopefully. But God, I got a lot of games on my server if anybody ever play them. So I don't know. Maybe I should just stop being, like, I just find that there's way too much repetition on social media about this stuff. I mean, I see the same pictures of art prints go by every day. There's 3 or 4 accounts that all they do is post old products from like TSR. This was released in 1982, and it's cool, but can we do, but maybe I'm just, why buck the trend? Why look for, if that's what gets people's trigger tripped, and it's simple enough to do, why not just do it? But then I get to the point where, okay, so now a bunch of people are following you to see TSR covers or whatever. How does that translate into saying, hey, I've got a product to sell? Seems to me that what would happen is you would cultivate a following that's looking at you for posting pictures of old products, and then feel like you bait and switch them if you say, by the way, I'm selling a bunch of my own shit. Or they would just go, yeah, that's nice, fuck you, I don't care. And bring back the TSR, So it just seems like you'd be chasing the wrong game or shooting at the wrong game, if I can say that on social media without getting, it's just a figure of speech, but it's not really your target demographic, I guess, probably is the better way to put it, without getting banned by these censorious freaks on these things. So I have an RPG, if anybody's, and that's the thing, who doesn't? Who hasn't made one? Even if they're not out actively trying to sell it, 90% of the people that play these games have written their own rules. So it's like, I don't know, man. But I went for that. I don't even know if I'm talking to people at this point. But I did do that. I wanted something that had a quick combat resolution, because people are always complaining about that. I didn't want it to be one of these, hey, it's my +1 sword did 6 points of damage to your orc. How many points of damage are left? That kind of crap. I wanted it to be, Conan swings his mighty sword and cleaves the arm off the orc. I wanted it to be more theatrical. So I made a combat system that doesn't have so much in the way of stats and numbers and stuff like that. It's, you took one in the gut, and now you're bleeding out like a stuck pig, and you'll be dead in a few minutes if somebody doesn't put a bandage on that wound or something. Stuff like that. That's a little bit more lengthy than they really are, but that kind of vibe. So instead of just, counting backwards from some hit point level. So that's what I did with mine. I know I can't get anybody. You tell people, hey, I'm going to go on in 5 minutes. Who the hell's going to follow you on? And I just keep hoping somebody will be like, hey, let's talk about this, and mention an actual topic to discuss. Well, anyway, I am working on splat books. That's another thing. Because somebody said that, well, more than somebody. I took a poll, and a lot of people want splat books. So I'm making system agnostic splat books, or have made them, put them out at some point. So, I made it. Here's a well, there ain't nobody was anybody. Uh, Communities. So, as I said, I'm frustrated and demoralized a little bit. Well, better. I'm not to make it sound like it's some tragedy, but I got sick of the Twitter thing. So what I did is on Twitter, because you can't leave. I've been there 5 years and I've cultivated a following to a degree that if you just go, well, this sucks now and leave, now you got to start all over. So I've opened up communities. I don't know why these things don't get used more. People make communities, and for some reason, it's like the timeline is hypnotic. No, but I'm trying to make more use of it, and I'm the same way. I opened them up a long time ago, and it's been months since I posted something on them. But I would like to use them because I don't think that they're as susceptible to the algorithm. And I made one well, I made one. Well, here's what happened. Mr. Kuntz there, Rob Kuntz, of D&D fame, said, "Hey, we need to make a creators group that, kind of an anti-woke creators group type of thing." And I was like, fuck, I'm jumping on that like a. So I went right out and made myself a community using the words he said and a title, and said, bam, here you go, man. And he's like, hey, man, this isn't a glee club. You just don't invite everybody in. I want some discernment. I only want, good people that are actual creators. Oops, okay. So I turned off the admissions, and I don't want to bother the man all the time. So, but I was thinking, what do I say to him now? I'm like, should I ask him who to let in? Because I mean, he could just leave the damn thing. It's not really that big. But I made it, and now I'm in charge. But I did give him mod capabilities. I don't know if he knows what that means. I don't know. But anyway, I just thought it was cool, the idea, because I think that's the best way to do it. If you're sick of what is going on with, I'm tired of remakes. I'm tired of reboots, sequels to 40-year-old movies that, that are made, usually suck. I mean, the Ghostbusters thing was kind of okay, I guess, that Frozen Empire, but it's like, so just some fresh, truly creative, non-politically influenced media, music, art, literature, gaming, the whole nine yards. So, but he's right. If everybody who's ever penned a short story will want to get in on the group, and I think what he's trying to do is not meant to be snooty, but you want people that can actually distribute something. So it's kind of a money thing, but it's still a good idea. So we'll see where that goes. I backed off and let him have creative direction. So, but I did make that, and I do want to make some more. I have two on my own. I have a war game and an RPG one. I'm not real good with art and titles, so they may not attract a lot of people because they may not look. Well, here, I'll just show you. It's easier just instead of trying to explain it. Got screen sharing, might as well utilize it. So here, take a look at this. So share. Okay. So I don't know, this whole olive drab thing might have been a bad idea, but and yes, it's AI. I'm poor. I can't spend, I can't for promotional purposes, putting out an AI picture, I can't spend $20 just to post a picture on Twitter, you know? So, but anyway, this is the main community. And then I kind of made a subdomain one. Oh, Jesus, you can't even get at it because this damn thing. But oh, maybe you can't. I made my war game version here. Oh, somebody's looking to join. Yay. Wow. Well, let's see. Give that. And but here's the one that I made. We'll get back to it. Right. There we go. This one. This is the one. Is he okay? Members. He may have left it for all I know. Oh no, he's still there. So there it is. Me and Three Line Studio. There we go. And so those are the kind of things. And I want to use these because they're more like forums. And they hey, oh, it's Griffin. Yeah, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. I think what Rob was looking for was he was looking for people that were. Let me turn this thing off. Figure out how to turn it off. He was looking for people that were about to make something. I don't know in the realm of finances, but definitely independent people that were making both art and document. Jesus, I can't talk tonight. Documentaries as well. So certainly, if you want to join in, Griff will let you in for sure. Obviously, you qualify under what we're looking for. We don't want to seem snooty, but you don't want, you know. I can tell a short story that I write on a cocktail napkin, you know, just trying to keep it to some level of quality and professionalism is what we're looking for. So, but anyway, I just like to use the communities because I do feel like I'm kicking water uphill in that algorithm some days. So I'm not real good with social media. I've got a screen name that doesn't look like I'm a business. I knew I was not doing everything right when I found out that oh, he's already gone. But when I found out that many people didn't even realize I was a business yet. So, well, thanks for stopping by, Griff. I guess I can't command anybody's attention for much, but that's okay. The other thing is YouTube sometimes will tell me nobody's there, and then there actually is somebody there. So it's kind of hard to read whom you're talking to and for how long because there's a fairly significant delay. But anyway, I think that's what he was looking for as far as the creators thing. But just a way to kind of get out of the static that is the timeline on Twitter. What else is going on? Anybody interested in role-playing and wargaming combined? I have these exercises. I call them exercises. I don't even know why, but they're kind of not really war games. They're more like an exercise in that it's like modern diplomacy, where people play from the perspective of a world leader or a part of a government in like America, Russia, China, whatever, and they all have their own goals based on the country and stuff like that. It's very modern and current events. So some people get turned off by that because they don't want to play political things. But it's just it's the examination of what's going on and what direction it might go based on the decision making of the players, stuff like that. So people, there's no, it's one of these free Kriegspiel type of deals. There's no real big group of rules for you to learn or anything like that. Things like, it's just, I had it, the inspiration for this is I had an uncle who participated in something like this for real as part of the federal government back in the 80s. And he couldn't tell me everything about it, but he could tell me a few things. And I've read about it since then. You know, he did this in 82 and 83. So based on what I've read, based on what he told me, I just kind of came up with things and some of the knowledge that I have from the places that I worked in the past, which were defense adjacent. And I just thought it'd be an interesting thing to do. There was a person that I was playing war games with for a while that brought up that he had done a couple of these at different conventions too, and he thought they were really neat games. So, thought it'd be an interesting way to do to try it if I could get anybody interested. Another one was Fight in the Skies, the old Dawn Patrol. I just like the idea of playing a week's worth of missions, one mission a day, not actual days, but just playing out a week's worth of time on the front between Axis and Allies players. Maybe 4 per side, where they meet up over this. One mission's a bombing mission, one's a recon mission. You just take all the different, random scenario things from the Dawn Patrol book and play them all out. It kind of leads into a more role playing situation than just a war game when you play Dawn Patrol in successive things. That was something I wanted to try. Things like that. Had the same idea with. I always wanted to play a try this. Sometimes I just want to do something and see if it'll work. And it's really hard to get people involved because it might collapse under its own weight. But I always wanted to try the idea of having a multiplayer B-17, Queen of the Skies, or a multiplayer Patton's Best. There's a fella, I don't know his name because I don't speak the language enough. It would be nice someday to actually know his actual name. He's very friendly on Twitter. He's from Japan, and he works on Harpoon, and it works with Larry Bond on Harpoon, and translating it to Japanese and things, as far as I understand. One of the other projects that this gentleman has worked on is converting or expanding, probably is a better term, Avalon Hill's Patton's Best, which is kind of a role-playing / war game. And that's where I'm really focused my interest right now is the joining of the two. Anyway, he made expanded rules so that you could play as a German tank commander, as a British tank commander, and or as a Soviet, as opposed to the American in the Sherman. So I just thought the idea of taking what is essentially a solo game and trying to run it in a multiplayer environment is just an interesting exercise. Thought about trying that as well. So maybe I should take some lessons on how to make these streams more interesting. There was people in the past who just came in and chit-chatted. Like, well, Griffin made a comment, but I still deal with the fact that there's a big delay. And apparently, if there's anybody listening, the delay depends on your ping versus mine. It's not set in stone. Some people, it may only take a minute or two to see what they've posted. Whereas I've seen people where it took almost 10 before I saw it. Well, it's just hard. If you're the one thing I did learned from the few little pointers I got from somebody who was an experienced streamer is you got to keep dead space will kill you faster than anything. So you always got to be talking. And if it takes 9 minutes for somebody's comment to come to you, you're well beyond that portion of the conversation. So maybe I need to be more fixated on one topic at a time instead of jumping all around. But I never liked I tried doing scripted stuff, and it sounded very scripted. In fact, somebody said to me, this sounds awful. Once you stopped reading from the script and started talking, it was a little bit better. And I always liked the idea of I don't even like this as a thing to talk to people or at people. I want to have a conversation, like a visiphone with video. That's all I'm looking for. But so I think what I'll do next time is if people are so inclined, this thing is set up so that you can be sent a link and you can come on and talk. If you don't want your face on camera, that's fine. That could be. You don't have to do that. I can press a button and all that, but you can come on and talk, and that's more of a real time back and forth thing than the chat that can be excessively laggy. So maybe I'll invite people to do that. Make it more of a talk show thing. I'd love to have Griffith, come on and talk about what he's done with all the Blackmore and all that. That'd be great. So I'm going to, I'll contact him about that. It's like this. Here's the thing. I don't know how many people, is it worth your time? I would, maybe just put it this way. Somebody like Griffith, I'm so sorry, is looking to promote something. Now, so am I. And I don't have as much reach as he does. So if he came on, would it benefit him? Maybe a little bit. Probably benefit me more than him. So it'd be generous if he did it. But if you wanted to come on and talk to the people I have, let's going to see what we got here. Hopefully it hasn't gone down. Be nice if it went up, but it probably didn't do that either. Yeah, shit, it went down one. So I had 126 or something like that. I'm down to 125. But all right, so not exactly lighting the world on fire, but people like that want to come on. I gotta say something about that. I won't do this. But it'd be great. It'd be great to have that kind of conversation. Anyway. Let me see. Okay. Anybody? I'm dying up here. Oh, well. Oh, well. So. So another thing I always wanted to do, and I presented this to people. Sorry for being, I just violated my own rule. Don't be dead, but I didn't know if anybody was here. Another thing I'd like to do sometime, and I brought this up to people, but only a handful. I'd love to play the old SSI D&D stuff. Unfortunately, most of them are single player. I bought all of them when they came up on Steam. The real-time strategy war game one, I forget the name of it, that doesn't work even after you bought it. They're supposed to fix them so they work, obviously. It's kind of a rip-off, and I really want to play that one, but it just won't run on Windows. But the other ones do work okay. And I just thought I don't know, I thought it might be fun to play. I thought you could play multiplayer with some of these. I think some of them were hot seat multiplayer. I'm going to look that up. But, you know, just kind of be interesting for people to, even if you can't play, it's a fun night. I used to watch, there were several people on Twitch that I'd watch, and it was kind of fun to hang out with them. You weren't really playing with them, but it was still an entertaining thing. And all they were doing was playing a video game, and you were chatting with them. It was just, but, you know, here's the thing, and I don't want to sound too pathetic or anything like that, but I was in a position in life where my wife had left me. I was living alone. I didn't know a lot of people in the area. She moved, she needed to move down there. And anyway, so I was just looking for a little connection to have a little conversation with people. And so it worked out. But a lot of people go, it's boring. Why would I watch a game? I want to play the game. So maybe that's, but I just thought it would be fun to try to do that, because I figure I can't be the only one looking to, kill some time from time to time. So. Interesting. Hey, how's it going? Somebody joined in. You caught me typing. So, but yeah, what I really like to do is have conversations. I do like to demo my games. I would like to have some fun streaming games, but I also would just like to talk to people. If you got something you want to pimp, and I know that some people find that phraseology untoward, but if you want to promote something, please come on and do so. You may not be a NASCAR fan. I'm not so much, but the phrase drafting comes into play, where two cars somewhat work together. They cut through the air better than one, so they're in a way kind of helping each other out. That's what this kind of thing is. Come on to my show, and maybe you can get convert a couple of sales, or just spread the word more. It's not so much, even if I don't have that many people yet, the people that I do have, they've got friends. They can tell people about what they saw. And then, kind of I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Hopefully the invitation will be reciprocated, and that helps, promote the kind of things I'm promoting. And that's really kind of how you get the thing done. So if you're out there and you're watching, and Doesn't have to be a whole night out of your life, you know. Understand that people have busy schedules, and it isn't exactly a a huge venue as far as viewership, but you could help somebody out, and you might get a little bit of press out of it. So uh, let me know, and if you're out there and you're listening and you go, yeah, I want to, we'll have you on. I can. Monday nights are great. That's kind of what we've been trying to focus on, to have a regular thing. But I'd be open to maybe having a show or a shorter show every night or every weeknight or something like that. So we can work something out if you're interested, whomever you may be. Give it a shot. Um, so, um, anyway, the other thing I really love retro gaming. If anybody's into that, I'd love to stream some of that too. Right now, my retro gaming stuff, I'm concerned I probably won't have much of it. See what? Nobody needs to hear my sob stories, but the fact of the matter is that where I'm living now doesn't have the space of the place I was living previously, and uh, neither does my wallet. So I really couldn't afford storage for as long as I needed it. So a buddy of mine gave me his garage. So I had to put all my uh, old gaming stuff from the 70s and 80s in a garage. Well, it doesn't like heat, and there's been some days that have been extremely hot for Wisconsin, and of course in the garage even more so. So I get the feeling I'm going to be pulling out a lot of stuff that used to work that doesn't, which is really heartbreaking. But you, I got put in a bind, and that's the way life is. But if any of it's salvageable, I'd like to play with it and put it on stream by getting a capture card so I could do so. But I don't know. Some people were very bored by it because it's not graphically um, significant. It's 8-bit is, if you're, unless you grew up with it, it probably just seems like some old cave painting junk to people. But um, just looking for things to try to talk about. Um, I was thinking of doing tutorials for war games, doing tutorials for world creation. I've had some people come up to me and say, "How do you make maps?" Like they needed help with basic land navigation and scale and stuff like that. Just basic cartography. I'm not a cartographer by trade or by training, but I certainly know quite a bit about it from wargaming and study and stuff like that, map reading courses and stuff like that. It's in the age of GPS, it's amazing how many people don't know a damn thing about a map. So I was thinking about doing those kinds of tutorials for people, stuff like that. World, other types of world creation, dungeon creation, things like that. I've sure made enough of that stuff over the years. So, but have I gotten anybody to publish it or anything? No, I didn't even tried. I didn't even think that was a thing when I was making it back in the 80s, and I knew TSR was printing them. Obviously, somebody is writing this stuff, but so. And a lot of people have credentialism, they they believe that if you don't have the whatever, credentialism is kind of a misnomer thing. So just looking for things that people might find interesting for content. What I really would like, personally, is people to come up and play games online. Not video games, but join a VTT. I love Tabletop Simulator and play some Tabletop Simulator games. There's a guy who does it all the time, and that's one of the frustrating things. He plays, but the thing is that he plays with people whom, because I'm not as diplomatic as I should be sometimes, they know my political opinions and they detest them, and they won't play with somebody who thinks a different way than they do. So I wouldn't be asking anybody to be playing online if I could play with those guys. But the party of inclusive, I don't want to make this too political, but the fact of the matter is that because I won't vote for their guy, they won't play with me. So I don't get to play. I don't get to use their stuff. But I see people doing it. And I said, if I could get other people to play that, here. That's all right. But anyway, I do play BattleTech from time to time. Oh, I've been going for an hour and a half, and it's been, just a handful of people. Shit. Oh, let's see. Well, hey. Oh. Sorry, I just snagged a fish. Yeah. All right. So there you go. That'll be fun. So we'll see what week that works for both of us, and I'll have my first big break, hopefully. But yeah, just looking for other things to do. Like I said earlier, I had a co-host. I technically have her as a co-host. That is, well, sound gross, but to be fair, I don't want to get too personal, but her life isn't exactly a bowl of cherries. So it's hard for her to do it as much as he wants to do it and wants to help out. We had planned on trying to demonstrate a game. We've tried several times, and between technical snafus and her life blowing up in her face, it hasn't gone off too well. We think we had it perfected for Monday, but then we're not sure she can do it. On top of it, she is far from the pinnacle of health, poor thing, and so that becomes a factor too. But it's hard to ask a stranger to co-host a show with you. It's hard to get them to commit to one. It's also a little weird, and you don't know how well it's going to work. So anyway, but those are so we were looking at playing that game on Monday, but it'd be a lot more. I think people might find it a lot more interesting if I was able to get some of these folks to come on, and and talk about gaming as you know. Although I still every once in a while I think having a live gameplay would be a fun thing. So I'm going to show you. Going to put on the old screen share again. So I'm always afraid something gross is going to show up because sometimes the shit that comes up. But here, this fella, all the time. This is neat. I don't know why Sean Connery's naked on their board. You know, I don't judge, but yeah, there's some things that you can. Again, I'm not a judger. It's not that, but some of these folks of certain political persuasions aren't as tolerant as they talk about. But so I can't get a lot of this stuff. They have a guy who makes terrain for them, and it makes these gorgeous boards. But they won't share any of that with me because I won't put a ballot in the ballot box for the guy they want. So not Jim. He doesn't give a shit. He's fine. He's a local dude. But I know that some of the people that he plays with wouldn't accept me, and that's why I don't ever get invited to play. But this is the kind of thing I'm looking at doing, little Napoleonics. So, and people that are, here's what they're going to play. This is in a week. I think this is a week. Or, well, it can't be. There's 10 of them. But they knock right through this stuff. You know, all the people say, oh, you know, those games are fun, but you can't play them. They take too long and all that stuff. No. These guys are ripping right through them because it isn't just two people. And Jim's always doing the judge, the referee. And so it makes for a really neat thing. And that's the kind of thing I'd like to get going. I think it would be a lot of fun. So, and it doesn't have to be, you know, role-playing you can go to. I don't know. I think that maybe one of the problems is a lot of the people that I follow and converse with on places like Twitter, they're not, you know, they I don't want to speak for everybody because there's a lot of them, but they do seem to be, you know, Matt, and I'm not real fond of it too. They kind of mock the, I can't even think of the name of that show, but the Matt Mercer and all that sort of stuff. So the idea of watching other people play, they kind of mock and so they don't want to watch it. But I don't know. But that's another thing to talk about. It's not pleasant, but there is a political divide in gaming. It does affect everything. It's some of the, you know, and the side, you know, frankly, the right side, they're usually grouchy. They're usually cynical, insular. It again, I'm not. It's very bad form to, you know, I'm trying to stay out of politics, but politics won't stay away from me in these games, and that's what everybody's complaining about. And one side is a lot more homogenous than the other as far as sticking together and that sort of thing. Whereas the other side, they kind of generally agree, but I'll get gate kept out of, you know, cliques and stuff like that are have the exact same political outlook I do. And because there's no united front, it doesn't make things easy to do. And they tend to be more critical, more quick to put things down like the idea of maybe playing online and showing it off and stuff like that. So um, it's a weird deal. Some of them do. I was in. I was watching a group for a while, and I thought, okay, maybe these guys will be. I'll be able to kind of meld into as a clique, and they were letting me talk to them and all that. And then one night they just got aggressive and toxic and shitty because I didn't. I had a slightly different outlook on a couple of things, and so turned out that they were Holocaust deniers and call themselves Nazis and stuff. So it was probably the best thing that happened was to, part ways. But there's no united front. You're bouncing around to all these smaller different cliques. There's a bunch of people that are only on YouTube, and I tried to kind of get some traction with them. But I'm not really, when you're the outsider, it's a lot harder to become accepted as one of the group. And I just didn't have the time to be a regular to get that kind of acceptance, I guess. So it's weird. It's beyond enjoying the games. One of the reasons, I stuck with the hobby years ago is because you didn't have this bullshit. Nobody was doing that. I mean, every once in a while you had some. I've run into snooty assholes and stuff like that, but generally, yeah, sit down and play. We're looking, they weren't. There wasn't people that were doing that. We were all the land of misfit toys. We all joined together. So, not so much today. Anywho. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. Well, at this point, I'm an hour and a half into rambling and stunted talking and all that sort of stuff. So maybe next time we'll be more focused and just come up with something more interesting. But really, I open these things up late at night with the idea of just having conversations with people. But anyway, so the Splat. Maybe I'll talk about the Splat books. Nothing really much more to say. If you remember the Splat books from second edition TSR, they had horrific, hard to read covers, but inside they're pretty interesting. Excuse me. Pardon me while I take a drink. Get dry. That should help. Sorry. Anyway, I make things like that. But time to shut her down. I'm sorry, I've got a little bit of an allergy issue. But yeah, very similar, some of the same topics. You can't copyright history, and but not plagiarize the books. But yeah, am I going to do Romans? Yeah. Am I going to do Celts? Yeah, but other things too, other cultures, other times. Not all history, not all real world. There'll be fantasy, there'll be sci-fi, there'll be all sorts of stuff. And system agnostic. There'll be It won't be very exact, but there'll be a rough guideline that says, here's kind of how you would score these. I'm going to kind of have its own kind of scoring system that you can sort of fit over whatever game you're playing. You just kind of go, well, I think it kind of fits in there and that kind of thing, as far as stats and all that. I've had a lot of people tell me that they're looking for that sort of stuff. So do that. I know people are really into the whole behind the lines elite commando team type of shit, and when it comes to role playing, regular soldiers, people just kind of go, huh, what would be the point of that? But there was I forget this gentleman's name. Was on earlier this afternoon. He does kind of afternoon streams. OSR something or other. Can't think of his name. Anyway, but he was saying the same thing. He goes, war games are their own type of role playing, no matter what. You may be role playing from the perspective of a commander of troops, and your troops are just a bunch of, somewhat nameless NPCs and stuff like that, but it's still a role playing thing. So I sure wish I could get more people to do that kind of thing. But these splat books will be about that sort of stuff too. Medieval armies and things like that. But not just that. If you want to, like the Roman I've made already. And I've taken their mythology, and I've taken not just their mythology, but myths and legends, and put that in there. So if you don't like the idea of playing actual history or real world or whatever, you're more of a fantasy person, you can put that fantasy spin on them. Or you can go to some of the worlds that I've created, and I've made some splat books already about the factions that are involved in that. Different armies, different cultures, stuff like that. I saw people say, what I really want is more about politics and cultures in these worlds. I want a more comprehensive world that has more than just, here's a map, and here's the name of the stuff like that. No, they want a richer tapestry of, what does the average person believe, or what do they do every day? Is it an agrarian society, that sort of stuff. So we focused more on those kind of details for these products, stuff like that. I don't know. Another thing I need to start doing is if you can't beat them, join them. Take BattleTech, for example, of what I'm talking about. I love BattleTech, but BattleTech is one of these IPs that has seen a large demographic shift, has an IP holder that has become hostile towards its original base customer, and embraced a new generation of modern gamers. And instead of people who claim to be giant fans of BattleTech pushing back, or they just go, all right, well then hell with BattleTech, and they never touch it again. And by doing that, they're literally so all these people have to do is show up and go, you suck, you're a racist, F you. And these guys think, they just go, okay, well, I won't give you any more money. And they think they're winning that way. They think that you're not going to choke these companies. So these companies have understood that you have a lifespan that is, because you're older, shorter than these people that they're appealing to. And they think years ahead. They're not thinking today or tomorrow, next week or next election. They got shit planned out a lot farther than that. So they don't care. They don't care about your customer loyalty. They don't care about your fandom. They don't care about how long you've been one. And the $5 that you withhold from them means doodly squat in relation to the 5,000 they're going to get from all the new people that they're attracting who are younger. I went to BattleTech communities in Twitter, and there were 3 that said we are absolutely anti-CGL and anti-woke. We're trying to preserve the hobby and all that. Keep it the way it was. Each one of them had about 35 members. I haven't looked yet, but I guarantee you that these 3 things, probably at least a third of them, are the same people in all 3 of these communities. Highest one was 45 people. Okay, and then there was one that was, we're absolutely are woke and we embrace DEI and we love it and all that stuff. 301. And more active, you look at the dates and all that. So the point is that that's what the people that run D&D, BattleTech, Warhammer, they all see this. They have marketing departments that research this, and they realize that that demographic is going to pump more money towards them. And there's this cult that says, well, once they ruin it, they'll be done and they'll go find something else to do. I don't know that that's true. I think that I heard like 40K described this way, that they shoot their target is, young or was young males of a certain age, knowing that they're going to buy this much stuff for these many years. They're going to, maybe 12 or 13, up to 17 or 18. Then most of them will largely grow out of it, take their stuff, dump it on eBay or something like that, and then become more practical people. And that's the cycle. So they got to really push their cash flow and throwing more products at those people. And I think it's going to be the same thing with these woke folks. Okay, this generation, they might last this long, but they're going to, they're not going away. So they're just looking at it from the prospect that we're going to die soon, and these people aren't, to be real blunt about it. So you're not going to win that way. But you can preserve what you have by saying, no, screw you. I'm not walking away from it. I'm going to go play BattleTech. And I'm not going to play CGL BattleTech. I'm going to dial it back to 1980s, and I'm going to go find BattleTech from the 1980s. And a lot of people go, well, that's still so expensive, but there's ways around that. And you can play the older stuff and not abandon it completely. But most people are. So I get all bent out of shape about this. And I try to tell people this stuff, and they don't listen. So why the hell am I fighting it? If you want some alternative army shit for BattleTech, because, okay, I'll make a bunch of rules for giant battling robots that aren't BattleTech, shit like that. So I think that's where I'm going to go with it. So see a lot of sci-fi splat books, and kind of alternative armies like things. The other thing is, I don't have the money. I don't have what it costs to get involved in a line of miniatures? All these people saying that, 3D printer, all. It's one thing to have a 3D printer to make shit for yourself. It's another thing to use one to try to, manufacture and distribute. You'll need more than one. And I don't have money for more than one. Hell, I don't have money for one. So all my stuff has to be miniatures agnostic, in that you can go and bring whatever the hell you make to the table. So all my stuff has a way of customizing. Like you can bring a fantasy war game. you're tired of Games Workshop, but you got a bunch of Warhammer Fantasy shit. Fine, okay, what is it? An orc with an axe and a shield and armor? Okay, that's this many points. I got so many points for the axe, so many points for the shield, so many points for the armor. Is he, a high quality soldier or normal soldier? And you just go through that list, and that's how many points that model costs to put in an army in my game. Just like I'm sure alternative armies did it that way. I never used them, but I always heard about them. So that kind of stuff. I'm running out of steam, and I don't know if anybody's really here or not. I see there's one person on Twitch. If you're listening, thanks so much for listening. Um, listen to me largely ramble, and hopefully I'll be able to start putting together actual shows with actual content that have some actual direction and structure to them. I'm still learning a lot about the technical parts of streaming, and I'm not in the greatest situation. I mean, again, I'm not looking for sympathy, but the fact of the matter is I'm not in a situation where I can live alone right now. I've been financially kicked in the nuts, and it's a hard hole to get out of when you're divorced. So right now, I'm sharing a condo with other people. Times are tough. Hopefully that'll turn around, but that does hinder the enthusiasm I can put forth into the microphone. And if I know I sound like public radio announcer, because that's if I become energetic, I start to disturb the roommates and stuff. So it's kind of a bummer, but and that may be why people are turned off. I sound like Pete Schweddy on the NPR, and but we'll try to get some more in the afternoon where maybe I can, turn the energy level up a little bit. But I'm probably boring people because of the way I have to talk. I am subduing my voice. Plus, it's late and it's a condo, but it's one of the, it's not a freestanding. There's one next to us, and unfortunately, the way that the place is arranged, I'm on a shared wall with the other condo. So at 1:30 at night, I can't exactly yell Yahoo, even if I lived alone. So that's a problem too. But anyway. So for everybody who popped in and out, thanks for doing so. I hope that I was neat to see Griffin. I keep saying Griffin. I'm so sorry, Griffith, to show up. And I don't know why I keep doing that. Joe Biden. But thanks for coming by. I hope we can set something up. I'll make sure not to keep making that same irritating mistake. People like to have their names pronounced correctly, and it's late at night. Sorry. I'll make sure it's at a reasonable hour, and but that would be great to have somebody like that on. I got a couple other big names that I'm hoping will be generous with their time, and going to keep looking for more and stuff like that, so that we can have something a hell of a lot more interesting than this NPR rambling that I've got going on now. And look for games. If you like watching games, if you like learning games, if you like checking a game out before you buy it, I've got a lot. I didn't even tell you about all of them, but anyway, I'm going to go play some games. Hey, I'll tell you what. Fuck it. You know what? Let's do this. I'll start streaming a game right now. Look at. I have run out of. Ooh, sorry about that. Oh, look at all that. Okay. Did I put it on yet? No. All right, so let's go here. Here we are. And it didn't launch. Oh, yeah, there we are. Jesus Christ. Speaking old Battletech. Sorry, it takes forever. Seems like since I bought this screen stays up longer every time I load this program. It might be psychological, but it sure seems that way to me. Not the first game from Steam that I bought that seems to load slower every time I load it. Maybe it's something, I don't know. Steam is like, I don't like the business model. And I've given up on PC gaming. This is a gift from somebody. But largely, I used to love PC games. I used to love PC gaming in the 90s, the late 80s, and the early 90s was probably the peak for me. It was peak for me because I think that the games that were coming out at that time were the most appealing to me. I was in a position where I could play them the most, and the hardware that I could afford or had wasn't underpowered for the games. By the time the mid 90s came, I couldn't keep up financially with the hardware, and they became less appealing because you had to run them on lower graphics, and then they started not working, and I started running into all sorts of it was a never-ending, oh, you need more memory, you need an upgrade for that, you need an upgrade for this, you need it, and Windows doesn't help with compatibility, this, that, and the other thing. So I just kind of gave up. And then the Steam stuff came along, and of course, by then, even if I had the money, DLC is a repugnant concept to me. I hate that shit. And as far as I'm concerned, Steam isn't buying games; it's renting games at retail price.
Fall in at your base station.
If they can turn you off because you said some word they don't like, then you don't own the product that you paid for. If I owned it, I'd have control of it. So it's a rental, and that's a ripoff. And again, this was a gift, and I appreciate it, and that's why I play it. I'm not going to say, oh, thanks for the gift, but I hate that shit, fuck you. I can't get my money back for it, and the person who gave it to me can't get their money back for it. So, and it's not that bad a game. I can criticize it, but it's okay. And so, thanks. Just don't buy me any more shit off of Steam because I'm not happy with that stuff. Or I just hate the idea. But this is a kind of neat thing. I love BattleTech. I wish I could play more of it. I wish people weren't, a bunch of black pill doomsayer people that just won't play because, you don't need, like some people are like, well, I've been buying Catalyst for years and now they do this to me and I'll never buy anything again. Okay, then don't. But why wouldn't you play with what you've got? If you really, really like BattleTech.
Dr. Rob, you're really doing
this is the only part about this game. This is the most annoying thing.
I just wanted to say that.
It's neat that they try to establish an. God, shut up. It's neat that.
Yeah. No problem. And you doing it means that I don't have to.
Yes.
So it's a double win for me.
That's neat the first time you hear it, but then, like a lot of these games, they just repeat. and it just becomes fucking annoying. I understand they can't put, an unlimited amount, but it's like, maybe I can go turn it off. I don't know. Actually, I should go see if I can. Oh, no, can't do it right now. Oh, wait, maybe here. It really does become repetitious and annoying. Oh, whatever. I'll deal. The other neat thing about this game, it's not BattleTech as I remember BattleTech. It's not the same game system and all that.
Again? Hang on, I'll send someone down.
Let's do this. So I don't really like that idea that it's not really the game system, but it does have a replayability, which I like. I don't even know if it's multiplayer. I assume it is.
131. Expected approach time. 1-8.
Got it. That's a 1-8.
What I don't like is you can only use 4 mechs. I'd much prefer it where you could. I understand you can't. There's got to be a limit, but I think a company would have been, especially because
that work order you submitted is complete.
You end up fighting a company, and this whole always outnumbered shit, gets a little stale. Instead of making it challenging by making the enemy more unpredictable or making more interesting situations to put you in, they put you in the same 5 or 6 scenarios, and it's like an old video game. Instead of just throw more shit at you instead, so that's not always that great. So there's a ton of mods that make some significant difference. Apparently, I don't know if they're still available. That's another thing. Another thing that really turned me against PC gaming is when these greedy shit companies started, taking mods away or the ability to mod away. That really bummed me out. So. Anyway. I still haven't gotten the overlay to work in these things. So, wow, 2 o'clock. I'm going to play one of these and then try to go get some work done. I should have been doing work anyway. I'm going to play one. Still appreciate the one fella in there helping me out, giving me likes. Then he's hanging out in the Twitch to get my watch numbers up. Super cool. Appreciate it. This whole time I thought it was some people that's going, well, let's see what's on, and then seeing it and going, oh, it sucks, and turning off. I didn't know it was somebody over there helping me bump up numbers. Sorry. I feel bad for complaining about it now, but I didn't know. I don't know much about how this goes. So that's cool. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Definitely throw some. Had no idea that's what was happening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Hopefully soon I can get a full assault squad. I've got this one shitty heavy that I kind of tried to turn into a command mech, and it's not. I loved Marauders in 3025. This Marauder doesn't. It ain't. It's not as aesthetically interesting to me. So whatever, but I know that I think that was one with the Robotech thing and all that. But I like the old Robotech looking mechs. Just like real life, I prefer the old shit over the new shit. Even Battletech. The lore is incredible, and I wish I would had more time to devote to reading more of it. But I kind of felt like I was being overwhelmed by lore once the clans came in, and I just kind of focused more on the wargaming elements of it. But I wish I would have. I don't have the time now.
Command interface initiated.
Past could have spent more time reading things. Like
ready for action, Commander.
Battletech novels and Rogue Squadron novels and stuff like that. This is shitty. I guess I can get in through there. It looks like a choke point, though. Where is this shit? Oh, I was going to go the wrong way anyway. Okay, here we go. Splinters.
I'm there.
I'm okay with the choice to do a turn-based. I really wish it would have been completely Battletech instead of this hybrid bullshit. I do like the added skill set and expanded. Just kind of give your mech warriors a little bit more flavor. Put a slight amount more of. It's not really role playing, but kind of role playing concepts with.
Copy that.
That's cool. So all in all, it's one thing is the other. The composition of your enemy is in the stock game is very repetitious, not very strategic, and becomes a little stale and boring. Like in the campaign, you're playing the same scenario. Well, sure, it's on a different map, but it's
on the way.
One locust.
Heads up, Commander. You've got hostile contacts inbound.
It was like the same lance. Everybody had the same lance composition, and it was like got really boring really fast. Another somewhat annoying feature of this game is that the line of sight and the terrain does not jive. You're often firing through rocks and stuff like that because it's not properly aligned or whatever. It just seems like sloppy work. But these guys, they're on a mission. Normally they're not this aggressive. Wow.
Damage minimal. weapons committed.
That's pretty cool.
Enemy mech destroyed.
See? 2 to 1. It's like,
I live to serve.
Okay. Well, that's a beach.
Target acquired.
Good to go.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to.
On my way.
Oh, these guys are the worst.
Aye, aye. Waiting for orders.
I love
Ordnance
Thunderbolts. My first mech miniature was a Thunderbolt. And I loved it. And then I got cocky and brought it to a mech mesh. Another thing, I'm surprised, I don't know if anybody's watching this, but I'm really surprised how few people are aware of what a mech mash is, because they were a big deal when this thing, like, this game came out in 84, if I remember right. In 85, where I was, there was mech mashes going on everywhere. And mech mash was, you brought your own miniature and you played inside the game store, and whatever happened to your mech in the game happened to your miniature. There was a hammer, there was a needle nose pliers or a wire cutter or something like that they had as tools. And so if you've got an arm blown off, they would snip that shit right off. That was, I mean, you had to, it was your choice to be involved, but it was like racing for pinks. You were, how are you good enough? Do you really feel, like you can survive this? And it was great gimmick for a store who wanted to sell you miniatures, but it was a lot of fun, and I thought I was being real smart. Yeah, man. And I got both arms blown off that Thunderbolt real fast, so there was $5 or $6 down the drain, but it was fun.
All right, hit them hard now.
Yeah, well, let's see what they do. Well, thank God he's a horrible shot.
Getting banged up real good.
This is the lightest armored assault mech I've ever seen. Oh, wow.
I'm losing weapon systems.
Jesus.
My armor's getting stripped off.
Yeah, they're nasty.
I
those
await your
things.
command. Moving to position.
What? That's all right. Some. I don't know if this is really the best choice, but whatever.
Welcome to my outpost.
Standing by. Moving out.
Ooh, shitty. Well, I really would like to get rid of it. I don't know if I can, if this will make enough difference, but this might knock this guy out. Can I hit the other one? No. Okay, we're going to go for this shot. Oh, well. Thanks there for the
I'm here.
wonderful display of shooting accuracy there. Boy, oh boy, dude.
Affirmative. Reporting critical hit. Minimal damage on that hit.
Engaging target. Enemy mech destroyed.
Nice. Very nice.
Thy will be done.
Hey, that's another little quirk. Some spaces don't let you rotate properly, which is very annoying. You know, that's another thing. They stopped fixing things, and they started. It was so often that the games were coming out buggy, and it was just, you've got your money, F you, you know. And I got very tired of that too. This might be overkill, frankly. Yeah. Let's split this up. All right. Let's give it a shot. See how this goes.
Putting fire on multiple targets.
Oh, man. Not good. Well, at least I got him.
Hostile eliminated.
Should have got both. The AC should have,
Waiting for orders.
would have been enough, I should say.
Heading out. Got it. Inflicted some heavy damage. Reading you.
It's just kind of a...
eliminated.
Mission successful.
Yay! Wow. See, that's why I'm not going to do that no more.
That mech is ready to fight, Commander.
Ooh.
On it. I'll let you know when that's done.
Hey, boss. We've just completed those upgrades.
I've got some things to update you on, boss.
Okay. Let's hear what this.
What you need?
Just talk. So, yeah. Okay.
See you later.
Okay. So I do love, if there's anybody watching this, this is still my favorite thing. If you remember old school Battletech and the 80s, the probably, I don't remember when this stuff came out, 86, 87, maybe a little later than that. I don't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure it was before 1990, though, that the first pods came out. And then they went on longer. Might have been 90, whatever it was. They came with what they called a simulator pod. It was a advanced computer. I don't know if it was just a piece, a really high-end PC inside this case or what it was, but it was better than any computer game you could get as far as graphics and all that. And it was a cockpit of a mech. It wasn't a keyboard with a joystick. It was all these buttons, and you had to go through a whole briefing to learn how to use them and everything. And it just look up Battletech pod, and you on the internet you might get a picture of one. They were unbelievable. They were expensive. You had to pay like $3, and at the time seemed expensive. $3.50 an hour, No, it was $3.50 for 15 minutes in these things. So, and I think they made 3 generations of them, and they got progressively supposedly better or whatever. But whatever the deal was, they weren't economically viable for long. They were hard to maintain, apparently. I don't know how many they made, but there's a couple sites to track how many are left, and there's a place in Minnesota and Texas where that has a few that still work that you can play and stuff, and they were just awesome. But they had them at Gen Con a couple of years. And there was like maybe 10 of them or something like that. and they were networked. It was so cool, man. They had them down at Navy Pier, but in Chicago too. And anyway, that didn't last real long either. But so I think it's neat that they have an homage to them, where you have them on your ship, and like it says here, large scale competitions, training, and and your mech warriors, because you have more mech warriors than you can use, because you can only have 4 mechs, but you can have 24 mech warriors, which is kind of asinine too. You should be able to field all your mech warriors at once, but whatever. But they're always gaining at least a minimum amount of experience from basically playing this video game thing on them and all that. It's really cool. So I thought that was really a neat deal.
Sure thing. It'll take a bit, but we'll get it done.
And there were 3 generations of them, so every time you upgrade, it's like at least somebody had some reverence for the original. I should really go. No one's really watching this, and I should really do some work, but I kind of want to play a second one.
There are personnel working outside the ship. Do not rotate, radiate, or energize any external electronic equipment.
I'm going to have enough. I've done enough of this crap. I should just get the fuck out of here and stop. Till next time. I've wasted a lot of time just rambling on live to talk about 5 minutes worth of subject, and it's done, so I'm just going to stop. If there's anybody talking, I'll respond to you before I leave, but I'll probably leave just because they hurt me. But wasted life here. Okay. Nope, nothing. All right. Well, thanks again to You're Wrong for all your help. Appreciate you trying to give me a bump. I sure really need it. Thanks so much. So that was mighty fine of you. Yep.